Hello, good evening, and welcome to another wonderful edition of EFIE on Port, a program that is proudly brought to you by Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority, Ghana Revenue Authority, GOIL Company Limited, Ghana Community Network Services, as well as West Blue Consulting. The program has quite a number of media partners, but if you tune in to GH1 tomorrow, Monday, at 8:30 p.m. You can watch our bridge version of this program. Also on GTV at 8:30 p.m. on Wednesday, you will watch our bridge version of the program. It's also across almost a number of media, newspaper outlets that you can get samples of whatever happens here in those papers and read them. Also on Ghana Web as well. Folks, this week we are going to talk, and I'm sure that you have realized, we are, delving deeper into the Christmas season. The festive season is here. We want to talk about how you can trade healthy and how you can also live healthy. A lot of people are worried that, Charlie, there are some rice in the market that when you buy and you cook, when you take sample, you sort of fold it like that and hit it on the ground. It's more than tennis ball. Some also say that there are a lot of rubber rice in the market. Some of the fruit juice people are talking about, people say that even some of the fruit juice that we have in the market are not wholesome. But this is the time, Christmas. A lot of people are going to drink fruit juice. They are going to drink soda. People are going to eat a lot of rice. So these things are of concern. If you hear that some of these things are unwholesome, we will be dealing with trading healthy and also living healthy within this festive season. In the meantime, quite a number of things happened within this week around the port industry. We also had some bad news, or sad news. Our own Castro, the general manager for Fish and Harbour, Mr. KUMI ADJEI-SAM, was laid to rest this weekend at the First Baptist Church. That's where we had the service. Is this supposed to be a church service ceremony at the First Baptist Church in Tema? So we'll bring you a little bit snippets of that because almost everybody within the maritime industry was there. We'll bring you snippets of that later on. In the meantime, the port community, or GHASSA, this association, they've marked their 1-year anniversary. Take a listen and then we'll be back.
This association has marked its 1-year anniversary ceremony in Tema to assess the growth of the association within the dynamic shipping subsector. The Association of Ship Suppliers in the country was officially launched a year ago to position itself in making a great impact in the maritime industry in the light of port transformation in Ghana. According to the chairman of the Ghana Ship Suppliers Association, Charles Agboto, the formation of the association is significant as a means of improving its professional identification and also creating a central unit that caters for the needs of the various ship suppliers and the ever-changing shipping industry.
In consultation with the authorities, GPHA and others, it has come to agree that the association should be formed so that identification of bad people could be established. The professionals to come together and do their business in peace and harmony.
In a speech read on his behalf, the Minister of Transport, EFIE-NE-FIE, encouraged the Ghana ship supply industry to bolster its efforts to strategize and take advantage of the several businesses that would emerge from investments made to transform Ghana's port and shipping industry. A former director of Tema Port, Jacob Adoko, who was the chairman of the anniversary ceremony, called on all the major institutions in the port enclave to contribute to the improvement of the association.
When you are single, you don't achieve results. It is through cooperation, collaboration, that you can achieve greater results.
Other stakeholders gave their well wishes for the progress of the association.
And the Joint Port Transport Union has also held a Thanksgiving service, plus GOIL also undertaking quite a number of initiatives, particularly in this Xmas season. They also had an award ceremony for all those who patronize GOIL. And like I've always been saying, if you're a Ghanaian or if you live in this country and you haven't been buying from GOIL, then I don't know what you're waiting for. We'll be right back.
The Joint Association of Port Transport Union has held its annual Thanksgiving service to acknowledge the goodness of God for successes chalked by the association in 2019. The Deputy Minister for Transport, Daniel Titus Glover, appreciated the contribution of drivers in the transport business to the development of the country. He cautioned haulage drivers to abide by the laws of the state and eschew malpractices.
So people foul, especially transit cargo. And was say a back transit and say ye by Yugua, ye befa edia, come baby fufro. No one will do more here. Near Tony Mano, a banisana dravano, yabacho.
Official from the National Road Safety Authority, Tony Dixon, urged drivers to dissociate themselves from the abuse of alcohol and illicit drugs, which have fatal consequences.
The drivers are not only taking tramadol or apetici. They also inhale fuel on the road. So we are pleased pleading with all of you. Be each other's keeper.
Tema Regional MTTD Police Commander ACP Owusu Bempa urged the union to partner with the police and regularly educate the haulage drivers and other road users.
Only the commercial drivers have unions. Private cars don't have unions. Commercial drivers don't have unions. To me, any driver for no KHASSA. Maybe once a month, maybe once every quarter.
Marketing and Corporate Affairs Manager of GPHA, Nanesi Soderberg, said the Port Authority would continue to create the avenue for connecting international trade and called for a closer collaboration from hauliers in extending that connectivity locally and among the transit countries.
The traffic will grow and people will import more when they know that everything is reliable. They can trust our hauliers to take their cargo in time from the ports to the final destination.
Mohammed Alaji Tanko, National President for Ghana National Cargo Transport, called for the Ghanaian citizenry to be patient and supportive in their dealings with the cargo transport sector for national development. The Chief Imam, His Eminence Sheikh Dr. Osmanu Nuhu Shaributu, called upon Ghanaians to pray to God for the leadership of the country and urged all citizens to be proactive to ensure the development of the nation.
His Eminence is particularly thankful to the government, policymakers, and the police. Without them, there cannot be peace.
Ghana's leading indigenous oil marketing company, GOIL, has held its 2019 Dealers and Distributors Award ceremony in Accra. GOIL annually holds this ceremony to reward its hard-working dealers, supervisors, and attendants from its 400 service stations countrywide, as well as long-serving staff members of the company. Awards were also given to the best zonal dealers, best LPG dealers, best lubricant distributors, best lubricant dealers, best health, safety, security and environment, national best forecourt attendants, best lube bay attendants, and zonal best Go Cafe attendants. Group CEO and MD of GOIL, Kwame Osei Prempe, stated that the work of the company's cherished dealers, supervisors, and pump attendants have been so instrumental in not only propelling the company's expansion from 160 stations to 400 stations in 5 years, but also keeping GOIL as the #1 oil marketing company in the country. He also acknowledged the hard work of his predecessors and management of GOIL in placing the company atop major corporate rankings over recent years.
You could have achieved this far without the support of our dear dealers, supervisors, service station pump attendants, and other stakeholders. GOIL says equal to all of you.
He reiterated that GOIL, a company with Ghanaians at heart, endeavors to keep fuel prices at reasonable rates for consumers.
GOIL has tried and will continue to do its best to keep prices at a level that will not unduly affect the driving public.
Board Chairman of GOIL, Kwame Battels, indicated that this year strategies that GOIL has taken to diversify is notable in placing GOIL ahead of its time and urged all workers associated with GOIL to strive to complement the efforts of management.
With respect to diversification, I'm glad to announce that our bitumen plant, our 2 gas plants, one in Tema and one in Kumasi, as well as our 12-story head office building have been started.
The chairman of the Association of Oil Marketing Companies, Kweku Ajimandia, praised GOIL's keen interest in taking care of its human resource, describing it as worth emulating.
GOIL is not only becoming the oil marketing companies of choice in the country, it's becoming an organization where everybody wants to work with.
Ghana's leading oil marketing company and the CIMG Customer-Oriented Company of the year 2018, GOIL, continues to fulfill its promises to Ghanaians by rewarding loyal customers in the EFIE-NE-FIE 2019 promotion. The EFIE-NE-FIE promotion began on November 15, 2019 at all GOIL service stations countrywide and continues to run throughout the Christmas period till the end of January 2020. Over 800 customers who accrued the highest points in the promotion walked home with tantalizing rewards of free fuel worth 1,500 and 300 cedis on their GOIL cards this month. During this season, others enjoy promotional gift vouchers for shopping at GOIL cafes and free oil change service charges, among many more rewards. The diverse backgrounds and locations of beneficiary customers ranging from Dansoman to Tamale, including trotro and taxi drivers, private cars and tricycles, demonstrates the national character of the promotion. The group MD and CEO of GOIL, Kwame Osei-Prempeh, entreated everyone across the country to patronize from the indigenous oil marketing company, as they are guaranteed instant rewards in addition to good service and quality products.
We are rewarding today another 2,000 more customers will receive rewards in our next 2 rounds of ultimate reward giveaways in 2020.
So a lot of giveaways in this season coming from GOIL, and I always say continue to purchase and patronize GOIL, because once you do that, you're not only serving, buying, giving money to GOIL as a company, but you're also helping this country. On that note, I've been seeing the text from the former MD, Mr. Patrick Akole. It's always a pleasure to hear and read from you, Mr. Akole. Last week, I noticed that you sent a message on the program as well. It's always a pleasure to hear from you, sir, and I hope you are doing well. Former Managing Director or Chief Executive Officer, Ghana Oil, or GOIL Company Limited. Folks, this week, like I said earlier, one of our own was laid to rest. Very huge tower within the port industry. The entire community was there, industry, members of government were there, the Minister for Transport, the Deputy Minister for Transport, and a lot of CEOs were all there to see Castro laid to rest. Let's just go get a glimpse of what transpired at the First Baptist Church, and we'll be back in the studio.
The entire port community converged at the First Baptist Church in Tema to bid farewell to the former general manager of Tema Fishing Harbour,
KUMI ADJEI-SAM, popularly known as Castro. Present at the ceremony were key players in Ghana's industry and governance, including the Deputy Minister of Transport, Daniel Titus Glover, the board chairman of GPHA, Peter McMenu, Director General of GPHA, Michael Luguje, Director of PROMOPORT, Sandra Opoku, Director of ACCRA Port, Captain Ebenezer Afedi, CEO of Ghana Shippers Authority, Benonita Bismarck, CEO of Ghana Export Promotion Authority, Efua Asabia Asare, and the Deputy, Albert Kasim Diwura, as well as the President of the Port Management Association of West and Central Africa, Jean-Marie Kofi. Others were the former Director General of GPHA, Ben Owusu-Mensah, Richard Anamu, and Paul Ansari-Ansah, former Chief Director of the Ministry of Transport, Chumisi Ankraselbi, and Chief Director at the Ministry of Railways, Cecil Okran, former Director of ACCRA Port, Owusu Krantin, and former Director of PROMOPORT, Edward Kofi Osei, and Rose Kakari Annan, a former player in the port industry, among others. In a tribute, the Director of PROMOPORT, Sandra Opoku, described KUMI ADJEI-SAM as someone who was respected and admired for his enduring commitment and outstanding contributions to the maritime industry.
He was instrumental in developing new systems in facilitating the export trade. Notable is the current documentation in use at the export terminal. He worked with SPEC to develop the SOPs and work procedures for the operations in the terminal. He also played a critical role in setting up the operations of the ABS 2nd Fishing Harbour in 2nd. He was instrumental in diversifying the revenue sources to include entry tolls amidst great opposition from the indigenous fisher folks. At the Tema Fishing Harbour, where he was last posted, Mr. ADJEI-SAM brought proposals to restructure the tariffs and the licensing of operators. He introduced new systems for performance monitoring and reporting.
Our report returns pretty shortly.
Here's innovation from GOIL that takes you further. New GOIL Super Synthetic 5W20 and 5W30 lubes have been expertly crafted with the latest in liquid engineering technology, highly advanced for modern engines, prolongs oil change intervals, save you fuel, clean, protect, and enhance engine performance. The way engines work has become complex, and GOIL has innovated to stay ahead. Expertly crafted lubricants that work excellently with all petrol and diesel engines of today. New GOIL Super Synthetic 5W20 and 5W30 lubes. Innovation that takes you further. GOIL. Good energy.
Ghana ye yenya ya sase o my kesia ye kan ye hubom ye adwumaden ye be ye kese pa ye to a ye tuatua ne da no ene ne ye sisi suku adan ne ayaresabia ade bi yi akwan am ye nya asetena pa ene ne papi eto bi te say withholding tax, income tax, excise tax stamp ene afoforo pi wo ho a e bia na wo mu sembisa fa de wo sawutia nkasa ho enu nti ne ye wo ho ma wo ne se ye beboa wo eto akitua bia boa mesra wo boa ne peja Ghanans wo yentuo ye dachi.
Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Hip, 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 hooray! Hooray!
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year! Yay!
New Year.
Okay, welcome back to the program, and we are talking about a healthy trading within this particular season, as well as our lifestyle. It's Christmas. already, and I'm sure that quite a number of you know that during this season, people purchase a lot. Not long ago, we all witnessed or heard about the Black Friday. We've adopted it so hugely, and so we're also buying. We buy everything, and also lots of foods are bought in this particular season. We're going to talk about how we trade healthy within this season, and also how our lifestyles will be cautious about how healthy they are. Jacob Hamwa-Komensa is the head of Operations Import and Export Department of the Food and Drugs Authority. Jake, it's always a pleasure to have you in the studio. DCOP Dr. Helen Tete is a consultant anesthesiologist. What? And head of clinical services, IMA. Doc, have I mentioned it right?
You've tried.
I've tried, because how easy do you mention it?
Anesthesiologist.
What? Wow. And your DCOP, you've been a police officer?
Okay, so I'm a retired DCOP.
Oh, okay.
So I worked for the Ghana Police Service for about 15 to 17 years.
Beautiful.
Wow. Yeah.
Beautiful. And IMA has you now.
Yes.
I see. They are privileged. Okay. Also, Mr. Stephen Edu is the head of Imports Inspection Department, Ghana Standards Authority. Mr. Edu, it's always a pleasure to have you in our studio. And maybe I'm going to start with you. During seasons like this, we hear a lot of buy-ins. We assume that people buy a lot, even gadgets. So we hear this Black Friday that we have recently. People are trooping. Malls are reducing their prices on gadgets and all of that. Is it like a peak season for, even at the port, for importation of such items?
Well, thank you very much. As the name goes, Black Friday, we expect an upsurge in purchases. But this is not translating into the figures that we would have expected.
I see.
So far as the Ghana Standards Authority is concerned, the figures for the last quarter are not that much or different from that of the previous quarter. Perhaps it is already stock that are in and giving discounts in order to attract buyers. There should have been a close correlation between the Black Friday and an upsurge in importation during this period. But the figures doesn't show that.
Interesting. What do you think might have accounted for that?
I really can't put a finger on what might be the reason.
Okay. But what's been the practice in the past? Like in previous years, how has it been?
Yes, in previous years, the last quarter, you always will see an upsurge in the increase in the number of inspections that the Ghana Standards Authority were concerned.
Okay.
2 years ago was different from last year. Okay. And for the Ghana Standards Authority, we were just attributing it to the fact that we had given a lot of the inspection that we do, or it has been put in the hands of the Food and Drugs Authority. So we were attributing the reduction in the numbers to that. But the trend is the same this year. Not much of an upsurge.
Okay. But what's your role at the port in ensuring that every good that arrives in this country, gadgets whatsoever, and I'm sure that now you are restricted to only gadgets, is that the case? Do you do anything food, anything we take it? Do you?
No.
Okay.
But outside the food, there are a host of items that we do work on.
Okay, like?
It borders on the building and construction materials.
Okay.
So right from cement to iron rods to roofing sheets to nails. When you go to the finished petroleum products, from your engine oil to your coolant to your gear oils. If you go to fertilizers, chemicals for manufacturing purposes, we are responsible for that. And then if you come to electrical and electronics, the electrical cables or the gadgets that you're talking of also falls under our domain. And then the liquefied petroleum gas cylinders, they are all under the regulation of the Ghana Standards Authority.
Okay, so other electronic gadgets like television, irons, cooking stoves, and stuff like that?
Yes, they all fall under the Ghana Standards Authority.
Okay. Have you heard about these cooking pans And I know that seasons like this, people also go for stuff like that. These saucepans that they say that it has some health implications. If you cook in them, you can grow longer. Have you heard it? Have you heard about this before? No. Have you heard about it? You haven't heard?
No, I haven't.
You haven't?
No, I haven't.
Jake, have you heard about it? It's been sold in the market that, you know, these are saucepans, they are special. Aside the fact that the basic things is non-stick. If you cook rice and food in it, it doesn't stick. Aside that, they say that it gives you some special health benefits. Have you heard about that?
That is interesting. I haven't heard.
It's your first time hearing this?
First time hearing it.
It means that you haven't been certifying something like that, the importation of some product like that?
No.
I see.
You use the word certifying. Our certification activities are limited to locally produced items. Because we need to visit your premises and look at the manufacturing processes involved, take sample for analysis, and based on the analysis and the inspection report, we then will grant you a mark of conformity to be used for a period of 1 year, within which there are surveillance audits we come to the factory to do. What we do at the import section, some people will want to call it certification, but it is per consignment. But the one I just explained, it is for the brand or that particular item throughout the whole year, and there are checks and balances in between.
But so what you do at the port, if it's not certification, is there a way of you guaranteeing the best of standards for any product that's imported for the purpose for which it's imported?
Yes. You had used the right word, that is standards. And I normally would say that standard is the basis for trade. Standard basically are sets of documents spelling out requirements, specifications, and sometimes guidelines. And this helps us to ensure that consistently we can ascertain that the product is fit for purpose. All imports into the country should meet the applicable standards. Ghana standards. In the absence of a Ghana standard, an international standard holds. And we encourage all importers to accompany their goods with a certificate of analysis or a certificate of conformity from an accredited institution. If you do that, the accredited institution, it is very easy to ascertain whether indeed these certificates are genuine or not. In the absence of these, then samples will be picked and sent to the testing laboratory for analysis. And
that's in the absence of the certification from those international?
Yes. Then sample will be picked to the testing laboratory. It is analyzed and judged against the applicable standards. So these are what we do. And with what we do, we can guarantee or assure the general public that we ensure that goods that are coming into the country are of the acceptable quality before it is released onto the Ghanaian market.
So how do you ascertain, for instance, or how are you able to ensure that, let's say, saucepans are of high quality, of high standards, and they meet international standards? What do you check when somebody imports them and coming to trade them in the system?
In the case of saucepan, for example, one may say stainless steel. And stainless steel is well known. So we subject it to elemental analysis. And we should be able to find the ingredients that make up a stainless steel material. There are times that, yes, it falls short of a stainless steel. So in that case, that is leading the public. It can't be a stainless steel saucepan material.
Misleading the public.
Misleading the public. So depends on the material at stake. We test to ensure that indeed what you say you are putting out on the market is what you have.
And if it turns out to the contrary, what happens?
Again, it will depend. If, for example, you are saying stainless steel and we find it to be aluminium, you'll be asked to do a relabeling. You can't put it out as stainless steel. If that is possible, you pay a penalty for the relabeling. A GSA staff will give you 28 days to do the relabeling before you put it out onto the market. Where it is not fit for purpose, then it is either detained and you're asked to re-export, or you forfeit it to the state for distraction.
Okay, so people who are going to go out there going to buy plates, cups, saucepans, and I'm coming back to the basic things that we're using within this festive season. I have seen cups that people call them magic cups. When you pour hot water in them, it converts into something else. I have heard and have seen saucepans that people say they are health oriented saucepans, and when you eat from or cook from them and eat, you improve your age, you improve your health standards and all of that. Are you saying that you are not able to test and certify this, authenticate this before their importation?
Let me go back to, I think I had explained the word certification to that. Well, if you are importing, that falls under the domain of certification. But then whatever attributes you are putting out there must be verified before you are allowed to set it in. So in the case, again, forgive me, I've not heard about this. But if you say it has some health effect, we may want to know what health benefits are associated with the saucepan. And then we subject it to laboratory analysis. If indeed the claims on the health benefits are what it is, then you'll be allowed to go. Otherwise, we will let you take it as saucepan and take out the health benefit that you want to put out there.
And then that will be again misleading and difficult, not from your part, but to the public. If I take this example of the saucepan that I'm talking about, because it intrigues me, Stephen, that you are in charge of imports inspection, and you are not aware that there's a saucepan that's been touted all over the market that it has some health benefit. Yet there is that going on. Jake and I, Dr. Helen, I don't know if you've heard about this before.
I've heard.
You've heard? Okay. So it's all over. And it intrigues me that you take care of inspection of these imports, yet that has not come to your notice. So it's appearing to me that they may have described something else to you, but on the market they preach something else.
That is very true.
What would you then say to the market, people who will be purchasing stuff in festive seasons like this and maybe beyond, and the sort of inscriptions that people attribute to these things?
Normally what in the past others have done, those that come with other claims, is that because they want to promote that item, once they get it cleared, they will send it to any of these institutions. Normally it will come to the Ghana Standards Authority. And then if you say you have added health benefits, we will find time and then investigate. And if that is true, we'll issue you a test report or a certificate to that effect. Then it adds to their advertisement. During the advertisement, they can then make a claim that indeed this assertion has been verified by the Ghana Standards Authority. So for those that are buying this, that is what I'll ask them to look out for. If they're making all those claims, just ask for which institution perhaps are verify independently what they are making or putting out there. And once they are satisfied, then they can go ahead.
When you hear complaints like this or issues like this, does your office also take the initiative and get down there to go find out where at all the market is taking place, the trading is taking place?
Yes, we do in such instances when we hear these claims.
Have you made any effort on this direction? Okay, of course, you said you haven't.
I haven't heard this one.
I see. Have you seen that magic cup that I was talking about? When you pour hot water in it, it converts. It takes, sometimes it brings my photo. Nice on it. Have you seen it before?
No.
You haven't seen that too, Mr. Oh, Jake, you haven't seen the magic cup before?
Yeah, that one they call it the heat label.
The heat
cup.
label. You pour hot water, maybe the thing is black.
Wow. Yeah.
The cup is black. You pour hot water, and all of a sudden it changes into a different color.
Yeah.
It's a magic cup.
Magic cup.
Oh, you haven't seen magic cup.
Then just
it's coming out of the port. This is where I'm driving at. Now, Stephen is in charge of that inspection, and he's not aware that this is it's in the system, and people are buying them. And they're buying them. They're buying a lot more because it's in Christmas like this. Some of us, long time ago, they pour small Fanta in it for all of you, and it converts. And whether it has some health benefit, health impact on the people or not, we can't tell. No. But they're in the market.
So just as you rightly said, they may have described it as cap.
Magic cap.
Magic cap. They have described an ordinary cap, and then when they get it out, they sell it, the claims are different. Okay. But I would, because you've mentioned it, I'll take key interest and follow up on that.
Okay. The last one before I move to Jake will be knockouts. Sometime back, I heard that there was a ban on knockouts. Are we still importing them? And that, would you be the one to regulate that?
Samuel, I must say, this is a very difficult question, in that we find knockouts or firecrackers all around us. There is still a ban on firecrackers,
I see,
or what we call knockout. In fact, so far as my mind could refresh or help me, the ban has been in place since 1999.
Yeah, that's quite long. Yeah.
Since 1999, yeah. And we have struggled as regulators, as customs, and then the police service in general, in ensuring that this particular ban is enforced to the latter. We at the Ghana Standards Authority have a list of ban items, and firecrackers or knockout are part of the ban items. If it is referred to us, we detain it. We do not work on it because it is a prohibited item. But as to why they find themselves on the market, that is another conversation perhaps we could have.
But how do they find themselves, even aside the why, how do they find themselves here? Because I'm not sure that the firecrackers or the knockouts are produced in Ghana. They are not.
No.
They come with a lot of foreign labels. And you inspect them. You are supposed to inspect them before they get into the market. So why do you allow them into the market?
That is exactly what I was telling you. The containers that are referred to us for examination do not contain firecrackers.
So somebody is not inspecting or not scanning some container very well to ensure that?
I cannot say that.
So you are saying that they are concealed. That's how come they get into the market?
That could be one of the reasons.
Wow. That quantity?
There are other reasons that I could only conjecture. They may not be true. And we all know about the story about diversion of goods in transit. That is also an avenue. If, for example, that is possible, that's also an avenue that we could have them on the market.
Wow.
But just as I told you, those are ban items. And ban items, once referred to the Ghana Standards Authority, we detain them, we do not work on it, neither do we clear it from the ports of entry.
I'll come back to knockouts. I have a lot of interest in there. Jake,
yeah,
go ahead. You want to pick on some few things he said, and then I'll come back to your main thing.
I think if what I heard in connection with those utensils, what I know is that it's not the utensil per se that impacts health, but then from their assertion, they say that the utensils, when you use them, you don't have to use certain things like ingredients. You don't have to use oil. Okay, so once you are not using oil, then probably cholesterol levels and stuff like that.
No, but
you don't need water for things that probably you're cooking yam, and you may not have to peel it. But there's water in the.
Jake, is it possible?
I mean, those
that I'm cooking yam is pure dry. I just cut the pieces of yam and put it in the saucepan, and then all of a sudden water boils the whole yam.
Those are the assertions. So
I'm doing jollof, and all of a sudden some oil somewhere makes the jollof. And it's in the market, Jake.
So, I mean, we should be interested. I mean, like you rightly said, GSA said we'll follow up, and I think we should get there.
And now to you, foods. Lots of foods are in the market, and people sometimes express a lot of worry. For foods, maybe for Stephen, it's worrying, and we'll continue to deal with that and see where it goes. But for foods, it's direct intake. Once you drop it into your stomach, impact straight on your health, human health. But we hear a lot of issues concerning fruit juices that are prepared at certain places. Sometimes when you see them on WhatsApp, you get scared. How are you regulating imports of some of these food items into the system, particularly in this season where the consumption of those products are very high?
Okay. So we take our mandate from the Public Health Act, Act 851, 2012. and it clearly stipulates that every regulated product of Food and Drugs Authority must be registered before importation. So for us as FDA at the ports, our main function is to ensure that the product that is coming in, are we aware of that product? Is it registered? And if it's registered, do they have the registration number? In which case, if you don't have the registration number, you will not be given what we call the permit to be able to clear the consignment. So the law clearly says that the importer must register the product before you bring it in. But of course, you know the current challenges that we're facing in this country. Most people get out there, they see the products, and they just get them into a box, and then they ship it to Ghana without finding out the requisite laws, what must be done before the importation of such products. So they get to the ports, and then FDA, once we come into contact with it, it's not registered, we'll have to detain it. We'll detain it based on risk. Okay, if the risk level is so high, we seize it. We seize it, we may destroy it completely, depending again on the infraction that is found on the product. Okay, so the law clearly gives us that mandate to register it, and in the registration process, we ensure that the product goes to a laboratory for testing. We have parameters that must be tested for every product that goes into our system. So you bring your certificate of analysis, we verify the certificate of analysis as against the standard that Ghana Standards Authority has developed, and we work with. So once we find a variation in the parameters that are tested, maybe if depending on the product, if it's alcoholic beverage, for instance, methanol, levels and stuff like that, it should not be there. So once we find these things, then we may either seize it completely or not allow it to sell, we destroy it. So COAs must come. Once they come, we verify them, we take the product to our laboratory, we test to make sure that the parameters are within the permissible limits before we give market authorization. So every product that is registered by Food and Drugs Authority, you can be sure of the safety of the product because it's gone through rigorous protocol to ensure that what is sold out there is safe for the general public to consume.
And have you registered all imported foods?
All imported foods, I must say currently no, because at the ports we still detain. And why do we detain? We detain because it's not registered. We don't know it. Okay, so the law says that you must register it before you bring it, but because you have not registered it and we don't know the product, we can't guarantee its safety. We'll have to detain it and then ensure that it is safe before we'll give you market authorization.
No, but the thing ought to be registered before it's imported.
You're right.
The fellow went into the international market, saw the stuff, it's not registered, but assumed that this my country people, I can still bring it to them. Then your requirement is that the thing ought to be registered before it comes into the system. As soon as it gets to your gate, you ask for the registration. It's not there. And you still give the person an option that let me detain and look at the risk level before, and then in the course of detaining, some way, somehow, some of them find themselves out of your gate and get into people's homes. So why do you even detain in the first place? The thing is not registered.
Yes, Sammy, you're right, but you see, we are in a place that we don't work in isolation. Okay, at the port we don't work in isolation, and again, for us as
what
FDA,
is that supposed to mean, though?
We have major stakeholders that we work with,
and okay? They tell you that detain.
No, I'll come to that. We have major stakeholders that we work with. Okay, government in itself a major stakeholder in this. Okay, so we talk about a number of issues. For us as FDA, our goal is to ensure that every product that comes into the country is registered, in which case we know that it is safe for the general public to consume. Now the fellow gets out there and then sees the product and then buys it. What the law clearly says is that once it's not registered, we have the option to confiscate, to seize, to destroy completely. In some instances, we are to make sure that they re-export back to the country that they have imported from. All these options are there for FDA.
Okay. And you choose the detention.
we choose the detention based on the risk of
But
the product that has come in.
At that point, how are you able to determine the risk component of that product? Because there's nothing that gives you evidence to say this thing looks like this. You have had your discretion to say, ADJEI, maybe the bottle that it is in, let me just consider and go and test it before I determine whether it's risky or not. Why do you even take on that responsibility? The thing has no clear, defined component that would tell you that it's risky or not. So just let it go back or destroy.
Okay, so what's happening in the food industry, for instance, we have what we allow para importation. Okay, para importation means that I can register a product that is widely known. You can also go and bring that same product. Okay, so when you bring that same product, I have registered it. It's from the same manufacturer. If it's from the same manufacturer, you can also register it. Okay, these are all issues that have to do with food security and trade issues. We are part of the National Trade Facilitation Committee. Okay, these are things that are discussed at higher levels. We are part of the Technical Working Group on Trade Facilitation. Okay, so at the end of the day, what we are there to do, together with other stakeholders, is to ensure that we get our work done without compromising on safety. So can we still work such that the products could come in, which we don't want, products that are registered, we want only products that are registered, but in the event that the product that we know, okay, somebody has registered, somebody too has brought it, okay, can we detain the product, do the necessary test at the cost of the person who brought it?
No, this is a product that you know, is familiar. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, I mean, we allow para importation. So products that I have registered, you can bring it in, and then in that, once it's from the same manufacturer, we know, we register for all of you.
Okay.
You understand? So in that case, again, you need to do that risk. Okay, do the necessary test that must be done, and still let the person. But then, I mean, there are discussions, seriously speaking, there are discussions from next year or onwards, we will see drastic change in the way we operate at the ports.
How?
I mean, FDA.
How is it going to happen?
Because
what will change?
What is going to change is that FDA is going to work strictly by the law. The
Which
law,
you should have been, no?
Yes.
All this while?
Yes. All this while it should have been. But what we are doing currently is to ensure that we are facilitating trade and at the same time ensuring that the product is safe. But we need to get to a point where consumer and importers become aware of the need to register the product before they come into the country. That is our aim. We want to get to that point, that the product is registered before it's imported.
Maybe if you have been burning the ones they bring, people would have gone back and be disciples. They would say, when you bring and it's not registered, they will burn it at the port.
That's exactly the point I'm saying, that we are getting there. From next year, you see some drastic measures that Food and Drugs Authorities is going to take.
How do you take it when you hear that people say there are products in the market that have not been, they haven't received your certification? There are juices in the markets, lots of drinks that you don't know about.
Okay.
Does that happen?
If you
or they have writings on them that are in different languages people can't read in this country?
Yeah, we are aware of some of these things. We get complaints coming in. We have what we call the market surveillance department that is always on the lookout for products that are regulated by the authority that are not registered, we are not aware of, and what the infractions are. Okay, so we are aware of some of these things. And once we chance on these things, we always we'll bring the perpetrator to book. Okay, we'll seize the products, and then you have to do whatever must be done before it is released for you to see. The mandate that is given to us, okay, is to ensure that every product out there is safe, is registered. Okay, so the registration process will make sure that it is safe before we give you the authorization. So we are on the lookout. We rely on consumers, the general public, to feed us with the necessary information, and then we take action.
Okay. The fact that you want the system to be safe, now you take a look at this season in particular, there's going to be a high consumption rate for most of these drinks that we're talking about, food items, biscuit, cookies, and all these ones. People are going to buy them. As soon as we hit season like this, they consume them like fire. And do you have to wait and hear about them before you go take action? So what we, or the public, probably is hoping that as a gatekeeper, and you are in charge of import and export control at the gates there, before it even comes in a peak season like this, because once it comes into the market, we're going to buy and drink and eat. You should have kept the gates before it even comes in. And so, admitting that these things are in the market, how does that make you feel? That by the time you realize it may be too late and people will be rushing to Dr. Helen's office.
You're right. I mean, we are at the ports, okay, to make sure that every import, once it's regulated, we inspect. And if it's registered, we allow it to go. If it's not registered, necessary and punitive measures are taken and all that. But we have products that have come in through unapproved routes. Okay, yes, a lot of products.
Like
a lot of products come in through unapproved. We have a Flao, we have a Lubo, we have a number of them.
So we know those unapproved routes.
Yes,
you are mentioning places.
We have officers at these places. Now, what again happens is that we have products that come in as personal effects, okay, and then you realize that these products find themselves onto the market. Okay, so even though you are at the gates to see, you are to see everything, but to some extent, okay, if the person says personal effects, the customs will tell you international convention, okay, personal effects are personal effects, okay, you are not supposed to really scrutinize and all that, but we go to the extent we have had this collaboration with customs, okay, to the extent that they allow us to see some of these personal effects, but again, you have a number of them eluding us.
Even though customs has allowed you to come and be sure that the personal effects is all inspected.
It is not a statutory requirement.
But they have given you the room to do that.
No, it is not mandatory that, but with our collaboration with them, sometimes they look at the quantity, the person has declared his personal effect, they say, oh no, but this quantity, no, let's call FDA, based on the relationship that we have with them. Okay, so that is the extent. But then, again, the customs themselves will tell you,
some still find themselves their way out.
Exactly.
Wow. That's dangerous, and I would love for you to advise. So what then would you say to the general public in a season like this, well, since you are admitting that there are still ways around your gate that some of these products are getting into the market?
What I'll say is that the general public should be on the lookout.
For what?
For products that do not bear FDA registration numbers, products that do not have expiry dates, products do not have best before dates. For canned products, okay, they should look out for whether the product is bulging, whether it is dented, whether it's leaking. Okay, once you see these signs on the product, it means deterioration has already set in, and such product should not be taken in. Otherwise, you just taking in sickness or disease. For places that you may want to visit to eat, what I would say is that, again, look out for FDA food hygiene permits. We give food hygiene permit to every eatery. Okay, so then you want
even the wache joints.
The wache joints.
Because that's my corner. So I'm interested in that.
Okay, so it's the formalized places.
Wache joints.
So, yes, so you talk of the restaurants and stuff like that. All of them, they are mandated to take FDA hygiene permits. And before we issue out the hygiene permits, we go there, inspect the facility. Where do you buy your raw material? Are you using the right raw material? Yes, we do a lot of checks to ensure that the product that is, or the food that is being sold there is safe for the general public to eat.
And they should look out for that.
They should look out for that.
Hey, but you are in this long wache queue. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, if they don't have it, then of course the regulator says that you may be taking it at your own risk. Okay, so yes. Over here, I mean, we allow regulation to take everything, but elsewhere, I mean, self-compliance is a key. The person that is buying the thing, okay, the onus rests on you to ensure that what you are taking is safe. The regulator says that look out for these things. Okay, so once you see evidence of deterioration, you don't patronize
but Jake, isn't there a way the regulator will be able to tell the traders to display openly how some of these certifications, or I don't know how you call it.
Yes, the hygiene permits.
The hygiene permits, the permits, to display it openly. Because like I was coming to tell you, if I'm in a long queue going to buy watches somewhere, and the one around my corner here that I don't hesitate to promote is antimony. If the way is popular and the queue is long, you now go and stand there and say, let me see permit. So isn't there a way you would force people that all watches sellers or all kinky sellers or everybody's or food vendors or the restaurants display publicly, like we have been warned to display our drivers, the DVLA and co, the insurance and all of that. Display them so that if I'm in the queue and I realize this Madam Krahi, she doesn't have it, then I just turn. But if I'm now going to ask that, let me see your permit for selling wachi, actually you go hungry.
In fact, that is what FDA always tell the vendor. Okay, the permit that has been given to you, you need to display it. So, I mean, the well-established facilities, you go there and it is displayed. Okay, and one of the critical things that, you know, the food handler contributes to about 77% of all foodborne illness. Okay, so then before we give you such a permit, we would ensure that all your food handlers are medically certified and they are fit. Okay, so then you don't sell communicable diseases to the unsuspecting buyer. So these are some of the checks that we do to make sure that the product, that the food that is being sold out there is safe for people to
and do you do regular inspection to ensure that all the vendors are displaying these permits and all the people, the handlers around there, those who wash the bowls and co, are all properly screened?
We do routine, after you have gotten the permits, okay, routinely we'll visit you to look at the states in which you are preparing the food. Is it still in the states that we saw for which we issued the permits? Okay, and in fact, food product registration, the registration takes 3 years. Once you register it, 3 years, renewable. But for the hygiene permit, because we know hygiene is critical, just for that is renewable every year.
Okay.
Okay, so it then tells you that we value hygiene and we know that something could go wrong, so we need to visit said people more regularly.
Yeah, some particular foods have become, their issues have emerged lately. Rice is one of them, and the noodles is also another. Let me start with rice. There are a lot of complaints that some of the rice we are seeing in the market these days, some even call it rubber, that once you boil it, you take them out, try to fold them, I don't know how you call it, but just turn them around a little bit, and then it becomes so soft, as if it's like a plastic, and you leave them small, and it's so dried and hard that you can knock them anywhere. And it's becoming a source of worry for a lot of homes. People feel threatened now to eat rice. I have a sample, I brought you a sample. See, Solomon, my producer, gave me this. This is one. I don't know if we can capture it. And let's see if we can capture it. See, this is rice, and it can, you see, we tried burning it, and it burns and melts like that. And this is in the market. Let me see. You see? And I pick it back. And they don't understand whether this can happen to every rice. People don't understand why you can have rice as nice and cute as tennis ball. And they call it rubber rice in the market, and this is the time people are going to consume a lot of these. Have you heard of this?
Yes.
And you check the importation, so your input will be very key.
Yes. Sammy, we have heard of this. Food and Drugs Authority heard of this about 3 to 5 years ago.
I see.
Yes. And
that the rubber rice is in the system.
Yes. That, I mean, there were a number of social media events that were going round. Okay, so Food and Drugs Authority, we took keen interest in it. And I tell you, last 2 years, 3 years ago, if my memory serves me right, we conducted extensive research on this particular assertion. And we took samples to our laboratory.
Okay.
Okay. In fact, we called a number of media houses. I don't know, Metro TV probably, we invited you, a number of, and then stakeholders, and then we demonstrated to them that the assertion, what is going out there is not right. There's nothing like plastic rice on the market. We have varieties of rice, okay, and the variety is dependent on the starch content in the rice, okay. So we have basmati rice, we have a number of them, okay. So it depends on the starch content, and I mean starch in this instance, they are polysaccharide, complex carbohydrates, okay. So that is what the rice is made of. There's no way anybody or regulators, we have not found any plastic rice on the market. And to go a step further, we are not working in isolation. You know, we currently, FDA is a secretariat for what we call INFOSAN. INFOSAN is International Food Safety Authorities Network. Okay, and FDA is a secretariat. What this network does is that every food safety event globally is reported on the INFOSAN platform. Okay, and all the regulatory institutions are made aware of these food safety events, and the necessary measures are taken to ensure that public health and safety is not compromised. Again, we have what we call the Rapid Alert System for food and feed safety. Okay, and all these systems globally, we are all doing the same work. So once there's a food safety event elsewhere, they go out there, report it in all other countries. We hear. In 2008, you heard of the melamine case, where infants were dying. I mean, 3 infants died, and a number of them were hospitalized when milk was being adulterated with melamine, okay, in China. Okay, this is an event that was communicated everywhere. Every regulatory institution stood up, and then we did what was expected of us. In the rice case, I must tell you that we have not had even one evidence. Okay, what I would say is that if the general public, if they have information, they have evidence to say that yes, they have samples that they think is plastic rice, please let them bring it.
So they think that starch, this starch, see, Jake, if you burn, you can see that Solomon burned this side with matches, and it burns and melts like candle, you see, and it's rice, so it becomes worrying. And if it's the starch content that is so high like this, isn't that worrying? Because I really haven't seen rice that, you know, you can play ball with and all of that.
Yeah. So like I rightly said, the most important thing is that it is safe. Yes, it is safe. Plastic, yes, plastic will not digest in the digestive system.
Okay.
Once you eat plastic rice, it will remain in your digestive system and it will accumulate.
Okay.
Okay. So there's no way. I mean,
it's not plastic.
It's not plastic.
But maybe it has a lot of starch.
That's right.
And that one. Is there a way to check that? Is there a way to regulate the starch content of the rice that are imported into this country and say this one is wholesome for our people and this one is not?
Okay, so that has not become a safety parameter issue that we should investigate or we should look out for. Okay, so that's how there are varieties. If you don't want the one that contains more starch, you go for the one that has less starch.
Okay.
So that's how.
Dr. Helen, I decided to give them all the time to raise all the issues and then let you know that in the end, all of us are coming to your hospital, the International Maritime Hospital. When we have problems, when we drink juice and we eat food and we get food poisoning and everything, we all run to you.
Come to us.
Hearing all these things, first of all, what do you make of what the submissions they've made, and then what sort of advice, lifestyle advice, food we take in, juices we drink in the season?
You know, when you don't hear some of these things, you think that all is well.
Yeah.
But clearly we have issues with our gatekeeping system. So things are finding their way onto the market. I mean, that's what I'm getting from them, which haven't been certified, haven't been verified. And so you're not really sure that what is actually on the label is what is really in there. And apart from those which are coming from outside, I'm also hearing from them that what is even being produced inside for us to eat, most people, I'll say, I mean, the percentage of people who go to the restaurants to have their meals compared to those who join the Wachi queue, those who join the YCQ are far more.
A lot.
Okay, and yet, from what I'm hearing, there's no way for them, I mean, for us to know that these people have really also been certified. And so, it leaves us with a lot of things to be careful about.
Yeah.
You know, when he was talking, one of the things that came to my mind, I remember as a child, we had this, we used to call them tankasi. But as I grew, I realized it is a town council.
The town council.
So they will come home, inspect your home. And so for those who are even cooking locally, they will come to the house and inspect the place. And they will look at the way you're keeping the place clean. Yes, they'll look at how you're keeping your utensils and things. And so because you know they will come, and they will come unannounced, people were keeping things very clean, you know, because you didn't want to be arrested or taken by them. But these days, you don't hear of them. You don't hear that kind of inspection going on. And so basically what is coming out is that what you see is not really it.
Yeah.
There is more to it than what you think it's there.
Yeah.
And so the onus lies on you, as well as the legislature, to be careful, or be careful in your selection as to what you actually go for. And when you go for it as well, that is not the end. When it comes to what you're consuming, as you're consuming it, you also need to be careful. I mean, there have been so many instances. You know, when he was talking, one of the things I wanted to ask him was, they would certify those in the restaurant. What about those in the schools?
Yeah.
You know, in the school kitchens and the boarding houses and things. Because recently, we heard of one boarding house that it was massive.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of the students ended up in hospital because of what they had been given in school. And so those were the concerns that were coming as they spoke.
Yeah, and if you take the issue of the utensils that are performing wonders, for instance, to what extent can that have impact on the health of the people who run to your consulting rooms if standard says that they don't know about it? And if indeed these utensils can do some magic, or the magic cups, what if there are chemicals that allow these cups to turn into different colors and we're not aware of, because clearly he admits that he's not aware of that?
Personally as well, I've just heard about it, like you're saying, but I haven't gone into the, I've seen the cup, but I haven't gone into details looking at what chemical reactions occur, you know, whether any of them will just get into what you're drinking, with the utensils as well. I don't know what chemical reactions are going on there. So there's a lot that we don't know.
Yeah.
There's a lot that we don't know. And that makes our work even more difficult, because there are certain things which are standard. For instance, if somebody says that I ate from this place, okay, and this is the way I'm feeling, it's quite easy for us to just have a straightforward idea that because you ate in an open place, this is what is likely to happen. But when we don't know the details into what goes into these utensils and things, it becomes difficult, and our work becomes a bit more difficult, because you don't know entirely what you are dealing with. And some of these things, they are acute ones and they are chronic ones. When I say that, there are some that will appear now, okay, which you can deal with. But there are others that is going on in the background and will have a longer lasting effect. And so FDA and GSA would have to help us a bit more.
Yeah, and aside giving them that advice to help all of us, the general public, what advice would you also give to the general public as far as lifestyle that we should resort to, particularly within a season like this, and moving on as well, because it's not just this season?
I think one of the things when it comes to food, okay, it's been noted all over in the world that December is the month when we have the highest record of food poisons.
I see.
It's all over. It's not only Ghana. And the reasons are quite obvious, that in December, people buy more than they usually do. Traditionally, we expect that you'll get people visiting you, you also go visit others. So when we are buying, you're not only thinking about your normal consumption, but you're thinking of others who would come and visit you. And then we also go out a lot more during this time. So our eating patterns change. And actually we eat a lot more. Most people eat a lot more. You know, it's the end of the year, we party, we marry.
Add more pounds when you return to work.
You see, so these are the things that happen. But because they happen, we need to be careful about it. Yeah. What I'll say is that in this season, think before you eat. That is my slogan, that you think about it before you eat. And you think about it in various ways. One, what I am going to take in, okay? Is it something that is already been prepared? Is it something that is canned? Okay, something that's been imported, which I'm going to use. Especially with the canned and imported things, you need to look at the expiry date. Yeah. He mentioned something that sometimes they would have to let people go and relabel whatever products they bring in, because if it doesn't meet whatever criteria they said it is, then they'll make them relabel it. I've seen instances where you had, and I think that was on social media, where there were canned tomato paste. Yeah. That you've seen, is expired.
I've seen it.
And they take the original label and then put another one.
Label that has a proper date, you know, so that if it was supposed to expire in a month, they put a label that says it will expire in 6 months.
Yeah. And the same thing happened with some of the drinks.
Even rice. Now, just yesterday, one of the managers at the port was saying that when he left, when he was leaving the house, he saw people labeling, rebagging rice into a well-known brand, kind of. And this is happening, relabeling kind of thing. People are putting, yes.
So you need to, sorry, you're going to say something.
No, I mean,
something like that you need to alert. Exactly. Of course, that's exactly what he did. But people are doing things of that nature.
Okay. So once you buy the product home, be aware that these things happen, especially around this time, because everybody wants to cash in. And so look at the label again. If you find anything suspicious, you would have spent money buying it, but then don't use it. Yeah. I mean, as much as possible, don't use it. So it's what you're buying. And then again, if it's something that is locally done, you need to look at the place where you're buying the food from. Sometimes the gutters by which the food is being sold, the environment, you know, that alone raises question. So you eat from this kind of environment and then you come down with a food poisoning. I mean, it was just bound to happen. Yeah. So look at what you're buying. Now, then I'll look at what we are doing at home. Yeah. Now, at home, most of the problem that comes with food is how we handle the food and the types of food. Okay, so there are certain foods which are very well known to cause problems for us around this season. Things like salads, our popular granite soup is a big culprit. So it's how we handle it. It's the basic hygiene. So make sure that we observe the basic hygiene. And the commonest one is hand washing before we handle the food and after handling the food. And then also our meats and things. So the chicken we are buying, the fish we are buying, the meat, let's handle them right. In Ghana, one of the habits we have is that we store food a lot. And especially for those of us who work, you know that it's busy. Yeah. I need to cook, I need to do something. So I'll cook a lot. I know it will go for a week, and so I'll store it. The other problem we have is how we store the food that we get. It's said that if a food is already cooked, okay, and you keep it in the fridge, within 48 hours, you should consume it.
I see.
If you haven't consumed it in the 48 hours, yes. So that rice that has been in the fridge
for a long time,
once
you want to go to work and come back, and then before you realize,
so we say that if you know that it's going to take more than 48 hours before you consume it, then immediately you bring it. You should rather freeze it rather than put it in the fridge. So I've done a lot of soup. Okay, I want the soup to take me for the week. Just do it in small portions. Take the one that I would eat within the next 48 hours. You can keep that in the fridge. But then the rest of it, straight away, put it in the freezer.
I see.
So that when you're coming to it, you thaw it from the freezer you use what you have to use. But you realize that
we just drop everything in the fridge. It's easy to pull out.
That
so
is
the freezer. You have to keep it and let it thaw for a long time.
So then we go through a lot of things that makes us prone to having problems during, especially around this time. Yeah. The other thing I want to talk about is, I said you should think about what you eat. Yeah. Okay. One of the commonest things that is so important for us as part of our lifestyle is drinking simple water. And it's one of the things I'm so passionate about. And you realize that especially in this festive time, people don't drink water. People can go through without drinking water.
And the juice and the sodas, you know, Fanta here, Sprite here.
And the booze as well.
Yeah.
And so we consume all the wrong things. But the simple way I advise is that now our weather is hot, and especially around this time is even dry and is hot. And so without drinking water, you get very dehydrated. Your immune system gets affected. And so when some of these bugs set in, very quickly you go down. But if you keep yourself hydrated, then your immune system is well supported, and you are in a better state to be able to fight some of these things that come. Simple thing is that at least for our setting, you need to drink at least 6 glasses of water every day. So if you're doing the sachet water, we're saying at least 6, that's 500 mils. Okay, because of the way our weather is. If you find it difficult, one of the easiest way to start is first thing in the morning is that we start with a glass of water. Okay. First thing, before the food comes. And once that becomes a habit, you find that initially you'll be able to drink maybe just a little bit, but as you go on, you'll be able to increase the amount that you drink. And maybe for those who don't want to pile on so much calories during this time, it also helps because once you drink that amount of water first thing in the morning, it fills your tummy. So it pushes the time that you want to eat, you know, it makes you feel full. So the time that you have to eat, you're able to push it a little back. And then you can catch up later. So these are some of the things that I think we should start doing, especially around this time.
Okay. Now, you can join the conversation if you want to call us. The number that you can call is 020-552-8353. 020-552-8353. The WhatsApp number that you can WhatsApp us, 055-901-9177, 055-901-9177. Mr. I noticed that we were taking quite a number of notes when Jake was speaking, and Doc as well. Reactions after that?
Well, not necessarily reactions, but clarifications to some of the things. You did mention, or I did mention, that we are looking at the importation of goods outside, food, drinks, cosmetics, and drugs. But I did not talk about the other side because that doesn't fall under my purview.
Which one?
But I did talk about product certification. That is done also by the Ghana Standards Authority, where it may not be food biased, where products that are manufactured locally go through the certification processes. Products such as drinking water, bleach, cement, floor tiles, electrical cables, among others, are locally certified. Inspectors will visit the plant, will look at the manufacturing processes, will take sample. The sample is sent to the laboratory, it is tested, and then judged against the national standard. If everything is fine, you are allowed to use the mark of conformity from the Standards Authority, which is valid for a period of 1 year. But in between, there is what is called surveillance audit, 6 months. Apart from the surveillance audit, the Ghana Standards Authority can also pick samples randomly on the market and do check. And we expect it to be of the acceptable quality all the time. So we also do that product certification bit. Doc did talk about the relabeling, but that was in relation to food. But we also allow people to do relabeling, the non-food item.
Okay.
But I must stress that when relabeling is being done, it is under the supervision of an inspector from the Ghana Standards Authority.
Strictly?
Strictly. We don't...
well observed
yes,
all the time?
Well observed. We don't allow you to take it to your comfort of your warehouse and then you do what you want to do and then tell us you are finished.
Okay. But if somebody does that, takes it to the comfort of their homes and do it, how would I be able to know the difference, that this was under the supervision of your office and that wasn't?
Precisely, that is what the law says. The law, LI 1541, talks about labeling. Where you have to do relabeling, it must be under the supervision of the inspector. So we don't let them go without.
How would the public, how would the regular person or buyer be able to tell that this was done under the supervision of, of an official from your outfit?
In the first instance, when we call for relabeling, we will not let you do it alone. It must be under supervision.
Yeah.
But for the consumer,
yes,
it may be difficult to tell. So what we can also say is that once you see some people, maybe in a warehouse, busily doing relabeling, perhaps the best thing is to alert.
But can people detect a relabeling that's been supervised from
No, that is difficult. You can't make.
The
relabeling is basically doing what it's supposed to do.
Standard of goods, the cables and things like that. This season, people do a lot of chilling. There will be small corner here. People are enjoying. You go and see some speakers there. They just do small thing and they want to enjoy themselves. Cables that people buy, switches and things that people, because it's also in this season that we get a lot of fires because the person wanted to switch on something and then the whole house gets burnt and all of that. What advice in that direction?
I can give 2 pieces of advice for those buying electrical cables and then those buying refrigerators, air conditioners, and other stuff like that. For those buying electrical cables, fortunately for you, the Ghana Standards Authority on a weekly basis updates certified or tested electrical cables that are in good standing. So you can quickly take a cursory look at our website, and then at least you will know the brands that are. But apart from that, every item must be labeled. I can confidently say if it is not labeled, then think twice about it. If you don't have the proper ratings on them, the proper labeling as to the size of the electrical cable, where it is coming from, the voltages and all those things, then do move away from it.
Okay. Ezekiel,
Air conditioners and refrigerators. We work in collaboration with the Energy Commission that consumers pay a lot as running cost, sometimes more than what you even used to buy the equipment, because these things are to last for between 10 to 15 years. So we've worked with Energy Commission and we've come with energy efficiency ratings, and it is in the form of the stars. The higher the number of stars, the more efficient these things are. So for those purchasing it, what I would say is look out for those stars as an evidence of energy efficiency. The more the stars, the better.
Ezekiel is calling us from Michelle Camp. Hello, Ezekiel. Yes, go ahead, please. We can hear you.
Can I talk?
Yes, please.
All right. My question is, I want to ask the SDE man there.
Yeah.
He's talking about the rice issue, that there are some rice that have high content of fat. I want to ask him, during the labeling, do they ask those importers or those producers whether they should, have they been labeling their bags that this rice contains high starch and this one is low starch, for the consumers to know, so that when they go to the market, they should buy what they want, or they just label everything right? Because if they are not doing the labeling well, and I am a consumer, I go to the market going to buy rice, I think it was the lowest starch. I went to buy these things, and I went to consume and I have an infection. Who should I blame? They are the gatekeepers. I don't know anything about. I'm not a chemistry to determine or a farmer. The agriculture to know the content of the starch.
Okay.
So they should do this thing right for us, please.
Very legitimate one. Thank you, Ezekiel. So, Jake.
Yes.
The labeling of some of these rice that you're talking about that depends on the starch content and all. Do we see the high content rice with a percentage of starch in there that people can make a choice? So if I see a particular brand and it has a high content of starch, I choose to buy or not.
Yes. Currently, you know, we don't work in isolation. Okay, we work with the international community. Internationally, it's not a practice for rice to be labeled according to the starch contents. That's why we said varieties of rice.
But varieties
is the variety determines the starch content. So you have to know this variety has high starch content.
But how do they know?
That's why
how do they know this variety? Because if you have about 5 sets, and I won't mention names, but 5 sets, one when you cook, it becomes very soft. One becomes, you know, and me, I like the soft one. Yeah. How would I know that the soft one means that it has a high starch content?
Okay, so right now, what we're talking about is the thin sticks. It's equally together, it comes together. Okay, once you have that forming, then the starch content is high. Okay, that is one indication of the high starch content. So if you want less starch content, you look at the varieties of rice, basmati, Thai rice, whatever. All these ones, the starch contents are clearly stipulated. Okay, so if you want to know the
stipulated on the label on the bags,
the name itself connotes the amount of starch in there. If you say yes, that is international.
The brand name of the
basmati rice, the starch content is higher than any other rice. Let's say
we only know that the names. So Gino,
yes,
Sambe, so Lily.
Those are brands that people have given.
Or something, so.
Okay, so you can brand your product Sami rice. So Lele is somebody's name that he has given to, but Lele is not what determines the starch content.
But what determines it?
That's why I'm saying that if I knew this was where we're going, I would have brought a list.
So there's a list of it?
Yes.
How do you display that for people to know? Because they should know that basmati or something you mentioned means more starch. So and so means just less starch.
Yes. Yes. So I mean, this is information. Once you Google right now, it will just pop up.
Hey, how many people in my hometown so, say have Google?
So the issue is that if it's become a concern, what FDA could do is to take it.
It looks like it has become, because people are everywhere they are complaining.
Okay, do public education on these things.
Okay, Richard is calling us from La Paz. Hello, Richard.
Hello.
Yes.
Yes.
Hello, we can hear you.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to contribute to the program there.
Go ahead, sir.
Yeah. Yes, I want to ask Jake that saying I just got in and saw you asking about the type varieties of rice, the starchy content on how. Yeah. I want to ask. He works with Food and Drugs Authority. Do they have a machine to test the quantity of starch and whatever they have in the rice? Because as far as we are concerned over here, what they bring to us from the point of loading or whatever from the farmer. Okay,
yeah,
that's what we rely on.
Yeah,
the basmati that is basmati will tell us we have 10% of starch, and then long grain will tell us we have 20% of starch. Meanwhile, we have not conducted any starch and any test to specify the amount of starch that they are talking about. Right. So I want to ask him whether they have facility to test for the starchy content that they are saying. Thank you.
You understand him that aside what the manufacturer has told you, are you also able to verify that basmati, I still don't get the name right, basmati contains 75%? Is FDA in Ghana also able to verify that what that manufacturer has put out there is indeed what it is?
So I mean, perfectly right. We are able to verify. This is what our post-market surveillance department, we pick products on the markets, okay, off guard the importer. Then we take it to our laboratory. We test the product as against the certificates of analysis that came with it. So we want to confirm on the ground what is on the market that the general public is buying to eat. The parameters tested, are they still in line with what was presented to us? In fact, our laboratory is accredited and by ISO, okay, 17,025. Okay, so it is, we have a well-equipped laboratory with all the necessary gadgets to do these tests. So the market surveillance department picks the samples, it goes to a lab, and then we analyze to ascertain the parameters that have been declared by the manufacturer.
Now, chicken is another thing that people consume a lot in this season. There have been times that they have complained that some people have imported chicken before they even get to the cold stores and all. The chicken will be smelling and all of that. That there are sometimes expired chicken that are just about a month or two to expire, then they bring them into the system. Do you hear this, and how have you been dealing with it?
So I mean, with chicken, I mean, you know, with the port currently, we work with what we call a risk management tool, okay, and we know the health implication of perishable products like chicken and stuff like that. So what we have asked the National Risk Management Team to do is to make all such products, put them into the risk engine red, which means that of a necessity, all such products, when they are coming, FDA must inspect and then ascertain its wholesomeness before we release it. So for those products, chicken, fish, I mean, we inspect each and every consignment. And as I can tell you on authority, this one, once we see any foul odor, we detain it. Recently, we destroyed a number of chicken products. Once we are able to tell that deterioration has set in, okay, there's a break in the cold chain, okay, we detain the consignment, and that one, it's not like it should be reworked. It should be destroyed completely. So these ones, we don't leave any stone unturned along
on that one. I will come to that soon, but Joshua is calling us from Tamale. Hello, Joshua. Yes, Joshua. Can you please speak up? We can hardly hear you. Unless it's my techies. Can we have the... Yeah. Can we please have the volume, because we can hardly...
Rice, we have two broad categories of the rice. We have the glutinous rice and non-glutinous rice. Now, most of the improved varieties of rice that we have.
Hello. We can hardly hear you. If you can speak up. Or Solomon, you may have to increase this quickly, please.
I was just saying that broadly, we have two categories of rice, glutinous and non-glutinous rice.
Okay.
Now, most of the varieties that we have in Ghana, we call improved varieties. Okay. ACCRA and Jasmine, they fall in the category of glutinous rice. Those type varieties of rice have high levels of starch in them. And because of that, when you cook them, you find it difficult getting them separate. So you see that they get sticky. But the non-glutinous rice are those that have less content of starch in them. Now, most of these varieties are the local varieties that existed before Jasmine and ACCRA. Now, we farmers are now in a fix because the consumers we have in Ghana are asking for rice that when they cook it, you can separate them just like the other foreign ones. Unfortunately, ACCRA and Jasmine cannot give us this price because of their level of starch in them. They are glutinous rice and they have high level of starch. Going forward, our researchers have to come in and help us because there's no way a farmer can get it right using these two varieties, considering the taste of the consumers in Ghana today. They prefer the Jasmine and ACCRA has very good smell. It's appealing to the eyes, but the problem is that the starch content in them is so high. And with that, there's little the farmer can do. Wow. So it's just a special appeal that I'm making. If you pick a traditional variety like mandi, it falls under the category of non-glutinous rice. When you cook it, you don't get it sticking together. Now, it lacks the properties that consumers want in Jasmine and ACCRA. But I believe that if our researchers can work on such a variety, you see, we will have it not be sticky, while having improving upon it to pick this the fragrance of Jasmine and ACCRA that consumers in Ghana are craving for.
Okay, that's a very nice education there. We thank you, Joshua, from Tamale. Did you know about this?
I mean, you could clearly tell that Joshua has worked on rice, so he knows. So he's clearly, buttressing the point that the assertion out there, it just depends on the starch contents. Okay. And like we said, that's.
So it's not as if that they contain rubber.
Exactly.
Dr. Helen, at the International Maritime Hospital, then elsewhere that you have been, if you take probably your last place before the International Maritime, in a season like this, you mentioned food poisoning. What should people be doing if they encounter food poisoning? Where should they run to? What's the first thing people should be doing in a season like this?
Okay. So there are different grades, okay? And usually within 2 to 3 days, most of it will settle by itself. You would have different symptoms and again, different varieties of severities, starting from simple things like just a tummy upset or a tummy ache, and just feeling sick, to as severe as having severe diarrhea and vomiting associated with it, to the extent that the person becomes so dehydrated. So we say that in the initial stages where you just have a little tummy upset, a little diarrhea, some of these things will pass by themselves and you really don't need any medication. What you need is to replace the fluid that you are losing. And so again, drink a lot of water. If you struggle to drink the water, the other thing that helps with the replacement is ORS at home. But if you realize that it is getting more frequent and you're getting weak, then we say that for that one, you need to come to the hospital. And so when you come to the hospital, we assess you and see the severity of it. And for some people, we detain them. For some people, would have to replace the fluids that they have lost. And some will require some antibiotics, but not all of them. Traditionally, most people want to just start taking antibiotics once they have a tummy upset or a food poisoning, but it is not indicated for all of them. Okay. So it depends on the severity. Okay. But initially starts by replacing the fluids that you were losing. If you realize that it is not stopping or it is getting out of hand that you can't deal with at home, just come straight to the hospital. Okay. Your hospital is a referral one. I'll come to you. What level can we get to the IMA? But Kakra is calling us from 2nd D. Hello, Kakra. Hello, Kakra. Hello.
Hello. Yes.
Yes, Kakra.
Do I go on?
Please go ahead. We can hear you.
Yeah. We wonder whether newspapers are also part of the standards board. Look through. When we talk about standards, newspapers. I once challenged the graphic that I can always find a mistake in the language, spelling, or any aspect of the presentation. Children's books that are on the market are horribly unsuitable. Spelling mistakes, bad references, children's books. And some of the radio advertisements about health facilities, especially sexual matters, are advertised at the wrong time. And what does the standard board do about all these things?
Yeah. Okay. Thanks a lot, Kakra. That's a very useful input. Mr. Edu?
Yes.
The advertisement part, because we noticed that a lot of products are also advertised in seasons like this. How well are they being controlled and all of that? He talks about books in the market for kids to read and all of that also being less standardized.
Well, I think he did mention contents of newspapers and textbooks as well. That I would say no. If it is textbook and is used in the educational curriculum, I would think that is the Ghana Education Service that is responsible for the content. Mm-hmm. And in the case of the newspaper, I also think it's the National Media Commission.
Okay. Now this one says, hello, magic marks and plates are manufactured by local embroidery shops in the Accra Newtown area. They are usually customized, that's customs done for funerals and corporate clients. Best wishes. This is coming from me. He has mentioned the place that he knows these things are done.
The embroidery. Okay.
Yeah. And how worrying is that to you, hearing that this is how it is done? For somebody is putting some chemicals together to make it happen.
Well, There is a great deal of division of labor so far as the Ghana Standards Authority is concerned. This fall under my purview.
Yeah.
I'm in charge of imports. So if it is being produced locally, it's not that worrying that it has eluded me. But I'll bring it to the appropriate department that will follow it up. And just as I indicated, I'm equally interested. So I also take personal
because there could be some imported ones as well. Now, good evening. Interesting discussion. A must listen to program by all stakeholders who operate at the port. It gives an insight and appreciation of each role played by all institutions at the port. Kudos. There's Eric Amenu from Customs. Okay. This one says, please, let's assume products like salsa tomato paste has already been registered by some group of importers. So if I import the same product from the same supplier, do I need to register again? If yes, then why?
Okay, so salsa tomato paste, I mean the brand salsa.
Yeah.
Okay, it's somebody. It's for somebody. So you can't register the same product with this brand. Okay, what you could do, if you know the manufacturer, you could go to the manufacturer, manufactures another tomato paste for you with a different brand, your brand.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what we mean by the product. You can also bring the tomato paste in, but if the brand has been registered with FDA by somebody, we will not give that you the authority or authorization to also use the same brand.
Okay. Is there any danger associated with drinks, especially the canned ones placed in the sun? Any measures taken to ensure the safety of these consumable products in the sun? This is coming from Patience Enima. Is there any danger associated with drinks, especially the canned ones that are placed in the sun? So it's not refrigerated, and it's being sold around in the sun like that.
Yeah, there are dangers associated with it, of course. I mean, we don't encourage that. If it will be sold on the street, it should be in ice chairs, or there should be ice around it, because what happens is that we have what we call commercial sterility. Okay, so even though the product is processed and packaged, you may still have some microbes in there. Okay, so at the end of the day, you could have it bloating depending on the temperature at which it is raised to. That's how come we have some. You may see tomato paste sitting down there. You see the end bulges. Okay, when you put it on a flat surface, it's not able to sit, and eventually it could even explode.
I see.
Yes, it could explode. So I mean, displaying products, there are storage conditions for every product. Okay, be it food or drugs.
I think that comes to this question. This one says, I am told that when I leave, when I take my milk and leave some in the fridge, it's not good for me. I'm also told that you can't leave, open a tin tomato and leave some in the fridge. Is that true?
Yes, that's true. That's very true.
From Nanajwa.
Yes, that's very true. Tomato, once you open it, it's best if you're not able to use it, you take everything out, decant it, and then put it in a plastic covering into the freezer or the fridge. What happens is that the can could rust, and once it rusted in, I mean, you may have it contaminating the product, and you may have what we call a situation that we call botulism. Okay, yes, setting in.
Release a big one.
Yes.
Okay.
Like so it's not good.
Okay. Dr. Helen, so International Maritime Hospital, it's a referral one. And under what condition that if anybody encounter a problem within the season, they can rush to you?
Okay. So
somebody wants your number actually, but
in as
let
much
me generalize it this way.
is a referral one. We also run an OPD.
Okay.
So we run an emergency unit and an OPD. So the OPD and the emergency are both opened 24/7. So anybody can walk in at any time. And so it's not only the referrals, but you can actually come yourself if you want to seek medical care. Okay. And we run various specialties. So so we have the A&E, then we have a physician specialist. So we would run the hypertension clinic, we run diabetic clinic, we have an ENT service, we have eye, we have dental, we have obstetrics and gynecology, then of course general surgery, and then we have an intensive care unit. We also have a dialysis center.
Okay.
And at the end of it all, we have a mug to help you as well.
No,
so,
that one we don't want to hear.
So it's a total package.
Okay, and so if somebody gets a problem, and you are located where? So
we're located in Tema Community 3.
Okay.
So we call it Community 3 around the Sned Flats.
Okay.
And so it's quite easy to come.
Okay. It doesn't have to be only Tema folks, does it?
It doesn't have to be Tema folks. We actually open to everybody. And so no matter where you are, once you can find your way to the place, we're ready to take care of you. Okay. So we're going to take some news running around the world as far as maritime is concerned. And then we'll also let you know the schedules of the vessels that are bringing your goods into the port, the Bank of Ghana exchange rate that you need to clear your goods out of the ports. All next.
Khalifa Port, the flagship port of Abu Dhabi, is set for further expansion with a planned investment of 4 billion dirham, an equivalent of $1.08 billion, aimed at boosting the company's handling capacity. The port operator said on the 7th anniversary of the port's operation that the investment will see 2.2 billion dirham assigned to the development of the South Quay and Khalifa Port Logistics, as well as 1.6 billion dirham expansion at Abu Dhabi terminals. Norwegian shipowner ADJEI-SAM has informed that the 9 crew members that were kidnapped from the bulk carrier MV Bonita off Cotonou, Benin, early November have been released after 35 days in captivity. Following the release on December 6, the seafarers went through medical examinations and were all declared fit for travel. The company said, quote, "After being safely transported out of Nigeria, the crew members have now safely arrived in Manila, Philippines, to reunite with their families and colleagues. The terms of the crew's release have not been disclosed." All operations in the river Scheldt and terminals at the port of Antwerp, Belgium, have been resumed following the crane collapse at DP World Antwerp's quay on Monday afternoon on December 9. The incident occurred after a moored container ship identified as APL Mexico City broke free from its moorings and slammed into a crane at the terminal, causing the crane to crash down with some of the infrastructure ending up in the water. According to DP World Antwerp, there have been no injuries reported despite the massive damage. The Coast Guard managed to secure the ship and moor it again with the assistance of several tacks dispatched to the Dergang dock. The ship sustained significant damage in the collision and will need to undergo repairs before it sets sail again.
Okay, so we're wrapping up talking about hampers that we're all going to receive, or we have always been receiving when it's time like this. The content of the hampers that we always receive. FDA. Jake.
Yes, maybe before I talk about the hampers,
okay.
Let me just say that, yes, we talked about rice, the imported rice, but Doc drew my attention to the fact that we need to also promote our local rice, okay? So if anybody wants to register local rice, FDA is there to register it for you. All you need to do is to see the grower, okay, or the manufacturer, package it, rebrand it, your own brand, you'll present to FDA, will do the necessary tests that must be done, and we'll get it registered for you.
And that one, the labeling, do you have all the starch ratings and whatever it is on them? Because that's key.
Well, that we will test, but like I said, the starch ratings has not become a concern that you have to declare it on your as part of the labeling.
Okay.
So we can promote that. Then Doc talk about a number of issues that I just want quickly talk about the boarding houses. I mean, the food that are served over there. In fact, we have food safety management departments that is responsible for. They go to the schools, okay, conduct public education, they inspect their kitchens, they organize training sessions for them. Again, the informal sector, the wachi seller, the plantain, the woman roasting plantain by the roadside, we also collaborate with the district assemblies, the EHOs. Okay, we train them, we resource them to be able to do adequate work on along those lines. The festive season, yes, hampers and stuff like that. What we would advise is that what you are buying, just check. Yes, they may be packaged nicely. You may take it home unsuspecting that probably the product in there are expired. But when you get home, before you open it, you use it, please check expiry dates. Check if they are deformities, if they are canned product, are they dented, are they bloated? Don't use such things. Consumers must be on the lookout. In fact, self-compliance, again, I'll repeat, is key. Okay, you are taking the thing in. So the responsibility rests on you to ensure that the product that you are taking in is safe. Okay, if you have the chance of inspecting it before buying, please do that. Okay, so that we don't have any foodborne illness.
Doctor, on the last one.
So same thing on the hampers. So not all of them contain things which you can store, has a long shelf life. So some of them are things that you have to consume straight away, like locally made cakes, biscuits and things. So those, again, once you receive the hampers, you need to just take them out and store them appropriately. But then the key thing is to think before you eat.
Thank you. Standards. All these my marks, magic marks and things, what would you advise us? In case I get some, and we've been getting them in the hampers.
Well, I think I've made a commitment here. I will follow it up. And then we'll make sure we come to a finality on that. On the issue of, am I also supposed to comment on the hampers?
Yes.
Well, the intention for giving hampers or receiving it may be a good one, but just pause. Just do the right thing. Ensure that date of expiry, direction for use, and all those things are in place and they've not expired before you use it. Okay,
so that's a good advice for all of us for this particular season. Jacob Amwakumensa is the head of operations, import and export department, Food and Drugs Authority. DCOP Dr. Helen Tete is a consultant and head of clinical services. You notice I swerved that name. Anester something. Stephen Edu is head of imports inspection department, Ghana Standards Authority. The producer for the program was Solomon Anderson, ably supported by Lawrence Casey. Also, the executive producers for this program, Mrs. Esther Jebidonko and Mrs. Nana Isi Sudube. Thanks for watching the program. We'll see you same time next week.